but it's the number she told me to call and the extension.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know.
You went to you went to Rialto Unified?
No, I just called the number back.
Oh, okay.
And then they were just sending me from different places, calling me back, and so they said they'll call me tomorrow.
Yeah. So with anything, contact just Rialto Unified because that's where the paperwork's at. Because the lady who called me, she was there from there too.
I just didn't remember her name.
She was like, yeah, just when you get your test, just bring it in. Okay, cool.
That works. I got it.
Yeah.
Didn't know where to drop it off.
I got mine done yesterday.
Yeah, I got my results back.
I get my results.
I got mine Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm done with it. So I just want to get my fingerprints done now because that's another process.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Gonna be dope.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna be dope.
John, I'm having problems with the YouTube. Hold on, I'm trying to. I can't get to the.
Maybe I have to like restart it all the way.
No, just leave it real quick. Hold on. Okay, I think I might get it right. No. Yeah, I don't see it.
You don't see it?
Wait a minute. Yeah, it's up. It's up. It's up. But hold on, don't. I gotta clean, fix it real quick now. Can you fix it from your end? Because I don't know what the heck's going on with my end.
Just send me the.
I don't know why it keeps doing this. What is happening? Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to do it, but it's weirding me out right now. Oh, I'm getting it now. Jeez, that was annoying. It was like. That's the only thing about going live. We got to do it all on the spot, you know? Let's see. Okay, link is up. You want to show them how to put the link? I'm going to go grab mine.
Yeah, I'll grab it. When is the program supposed to start, anyways?
August. But a summer workshop. What's to come in August?
Okay, cool.
I just sent you the link. Is
Check them.
check.
Hey.
So this link is for what now?
For YouTube.
So you can share it.
So you just copy, put the link on your story, and people can click on the link and go straight to it. They can watch it.
1.
And we are live. You can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Twitch, and Kick. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be right back with you, Howlers. Right Howls over Baaz. I'm Jacob Casas.
And this is Ambition.
And today we have two very special guests. I'm very hyped to have them in here in the den today. We're going to have them introduce themselves to our audience. If you can, we'll start with you. If you can tell a little bit about who you are and what you do.
What up? I'm Avila. I'm one half of the Avila brothers, the legendary Avila brothers. Songwriter, producer, musician, curator, and creator. Songwriter, you know, it's what we do, it's what we love, it's make music together.
That's dope. Glad to have you.
Thank you
Glad
for
to have
having
you.
us. What up, Am?
What up? What up? What up? Well, don't forget Legend.
I'm a felon. I've done, my name is Bobby Avila, musician, songwriter, producer, artist.
Guess it comes with the territory.
Extraordinary.
Exactly. You know, massive music lover. You know, worked with many artists in my time. I've been in the game since I was like 12 years old. So I've been doing music for quite some time, and you know, blessed to do what I love to do.
Well, we appreciate you having you too today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Man, so it's kind of crazy. I'm gonna go to break down the situation and how this even came about, guys. This is kind of crazy. So I seen, I think you guys, one of you guys liked one of the and commented on one of our clips, and then I looked into. I'm like, who are these guys? These guys are like doing big things, and I even seen you with the mayor. And I was kind of like, who are these guys, right? And then I started looking into them, like, dude, these guys are big. And then I invited you guys to come on the show.
Yep.
And then he hit me up. He's like, dude, do you know who these guys are? And I was like, well, I see they're doing big things. Oh, nah, bro. They're big, dude. And he was telling me a lot about you guys. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like really excited to have you guys on the show, man.
Hey,
Yeah, man.
We're happy to be here, man.
We're happy to be here. You know, this is our backyard. So, you know, it's a hop, skip, and a jump. And, you know, the great thing is this chapter of our creative journey is really about showing up for our community and making sure we're plugged in. We stay in the streets, man. So that's how we stay fresh. That's how we're able to do what we do at a high level, just by understanding what resonates with community. So we're here, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So can we get into, I mean, I even watched the podcast that you guys were on. You guys are like spitting knowledge on entrepreneurship and all kinds of stuff. So let's start with this. The first part of you guys' entrepreneurship journey, like where did it start?
Man, I don't even know the origin of when it started. I just know I just know we were, you know, introduced to music via our pops, and, you know, fell in love with instrumentation and learning the craft. And I think it eventually just evolved into
I mean,
understanding we had to figure out business.
Music is one of those things where, you know, it's very unorthodox. It's very there's no structure to it, right? So, you know, with being an artist, a producer, musician, it's kind of like trial and error and discovery. And I think through that journey, you find out business and you start to discover what that is and how you can figure out how to have a livelihood at what you love to do. And along the way, if you can, you know, sustain the bumps and the bruises and the detours and everything that comes along with this game, you find yourself, you know, structuring something that ultimately allows you to create a business for yourself in music. And I think that's for us, that's been our journey. Again, man, I've done so many things in my life in music that, you know, from learning radio, marketing, branding, the executive side of the music business, being a musician who plays bass, guitar, piano, harmonica, talkbox, being an engineer. I mean, all of those things on top of being an artist and being a songwriter. You know, music has taken me on such a crazy journey that it allowed me to discover other things outside of music and what I wanted to become. And that led to us, you know, working in the tech space and working with different companies. And just having longevity and seeing, the power of music is so powerful, and it takes you like in so many different lanes in the world that if you can, again, sustainability and continue to love it and have a passion, you will connect on so many levels. And I think that that has been a very huge blessing in our lives in terms of being an entrepreneur, not a wantrepreneur.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
But I think too, that it's not a one size fits all. Like what he just described, most creatives don't ever make that transition because they get so lost into the creative aspect and the creative sauce. And so you got to be able to be able to compartmentalize that part of your brain and that part of your creativity. I'll tell you this, most creatives do not have structure. Most creatives are rogue. Most creators can't fit in a box that lends itself towards, simple things as like being on time, being on your paperwork. Like there's just they occupy two sides of the brain, and I think we've always been able to transition beyond the studio, right? Beyond the comfort zone of writing a song and being a musician and just loving to play music. Because at the end of the day, you got to know both sides at an equal level. Yeah. So just as fire as you are as a songwriter musician, you got to be that much fire on the business. You got to be that much fire into understanding what your IP is, how do you own it, how to even put that together. And I think we were always able to see things coming around the corner and say, you know what, that's another way for us to maximize this thing we do call music. And so, that takes a very, very specific mindset and a very specific discipline. And those are the things that get lost in the shuffle, which is why, when we talk to artists and musicians and songwriters, they got the horror stories of, man, I didn't get this. I got robbed of this. They took this. I don't have this. I don't know what I own. So you have to, like I said, you got to be at an equal on both sides to really understand that.
So when did you guys know where you're like, okay, now, because you're completely right, and I was going to even get into that. You said it before I even said it.
Yeah.
Is all these people that are in music or anything like that, the creative side, like a lot of times takes over, and that person does not know how to transfer that into business.
True.
And you already answered that, but when did you guys realize? And we can start with you on that one because it's really cool that you guys are brothers doing this shit together.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
For
like
life.
the dope
Absolutely.
part. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
how bro, that's how when I met them, I was going to Bloomington Junior High School. He was performing. He was running the business aspect of things. And I stopped him and said something to him about what was going on, and that's how we met initially.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, crazy.
That part is so dope. Like I would love to just be doing that shit with my brother, and like just because then it's like nobody knows you better than him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like so that's what's dope. But what I wanted to say is, when did you guys realize I can make this a business? Like when did it pop in your head?
I think for me, when you start to see a common thread, which is the reaction that is based off of what you're able to create at a very high level, and you start to understand that what you actually have, the gift you have, makes room for you in a sense where now you can pay your car note, your cell phone bill, right? Earning a living by doing what you love.
With what you created.
You created. And mind you, we always talk about we create our process, we're pulling nothing out of the sky and turning it into something that becomes infectious, something that you want to hear over and over again. Now, to exercise that muscle day in and day out puts you in a place where you can think of something and create it instantly and automatically you're going to get the response that you intended to get. Mm-hmm. But I think, it's different with everybody. I think for us, being able to watch our pops at a very early age, understand that he might have not been the dopest musician, but he had the gigs, he had the business, which is why all the musicians wanted to be in this band, right? And so seeing how that was going, and then see how he was plugging into us because he even saw something that we didn't see at the time as kids, right? So then you get to a point where it gets real for you because it's like, okay, now it's sink or swim. We're out on our own. Now we got to take everything that we've done in our earlier years and try to figure out how to scale a business around that, right? And so that time frame is different for everybody. I think we were ahead of the curve because we were able to watch numerous businessmen around us and see how they moved, whether it was in publishing, whether it was, a product, he was doing beta testing, all those things, they came into play at some point. So when the tires hit the road, it's like, okay, cool. We know we got what it takes. We know we got, something unique that draws everybody. Now, how do we stay consistent? How do we do something that allows us to be here more than 5 seconds?
Yeah, and that's funny you say that about your pops. You know what I mean? Because the thing is consistency and determination triumphs over everything. You can have mad talent,
Dude,
but
I say that all the time.
Your pops was still, people wanted to work for him that were
Yeah.
probably better at music,
Yeah.
but he was consistent and he was determined.
Yeah.
And he probably made it a business immediately. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So,
and that's the thing. I think, a lot of times when you discover how talented you are and people are constantly telling you how talented you are, you think you can skip steps and you think that there isn't somebody else working harder than you that's less talented, that's probably going to finish the race before you.
I love that.
Right?
Hard work.
That's a legit dynamic,
Yep.
and you can't ever get so caught up into how talented you are because there's other parts of this thing that require more than just talent. Right.
And you know what's funny is a lot of people are not talented anymore like they used to be. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
stop thinking you're the shit. Like
Yeah.
you're really not, because they're like back in the day, people were way better at your shit. So it's like, and people are so entitled to that right now.
If we could talk about how many young artists we work with that think they've arrived and they think that they're the shit, and it's like, yo, you ain't even busted a grape. you ain't busted a grape. Now you might be dope in your little city,
yeah.
and your family's always telling you dope, but in our world, man, you couldn't hold a half a candle.
In the 90s, even early 2000s, you couldn't even
No,
made it,
man.
dude. It
No.
would have been a wrap for you.
No.
You guys have been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking, if you guys had no music involved in this journey that you guys have been on, what do you guys think you guys would have been at? Career path, anything like that?
We're designers.
Yeah, designers. I mean, I had such I think a bite, and and this has a lot to do with even answering your question. I think for me, it was a lot of failure. I got my first record deal at 12, and I signed with RCA Records, right? So, along the journey, I seen everybody blow my career, and my career was in their hands. So at some point, I said, I need to create a company for myself.
How old were you
And-
when you thought that?
I was probably about 16. I started working on investment. I was putting together
guys are legit.
really plugging in to get an
business
investment.
plans,
Yeah.
business plans,
Yeah,
marketing
business
plans.
outlined, marketing plans, and
Hold on, is this from watching your dad? Is that where you got that mindset? Because I feel like, how did you even, at 16 years old, how are you thinking, I need to start a business? Most 16-year-olds aren't thinking that.
no, I was blessed enough to be around a lot of executives
Yeah.
at a young age. My dad had the mindset, you be creative and I'm taking care of the business. And for me, it was like, my business ain't getting taken care of. It's not working. And the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. It ain't gonna happen. So when I had that mindset, I actually applied myself and started reaching out to program directors who were close with me at radio, and I just started picking their brain. I ended up working with a publicist who was renowned for discovering Elton John. Worked with Frank Sinatra, Michael Jackson. He launched Death Row Records.
Wow.
With Suge and Harry O. And I learned the publicity side of it. And then he also taught me other things outside of publicity, and to always create an event, make everything count. Just don't arrive with, like it's a celebration.
An experience, yeah.
And that, to me, that helped me look at, music and my artistry a lot different. And I think I found myself in that rabbit hole of wanting to learn that part of it, because I had so much music in me. That was the easiest part of doing what I was doing. The hardest part is taking the music and connecting that. Remember, it's called the music business, not business music. So, the music starts a conversation, but it's the business that allows you to make that transition, to get to that transaction.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, was what really sparked, what I've been able to do. And if it wasn't music, I think I've always had the mindset I'm never going to work for somebody, but I'll work with somebody. So I would have been, if I worked at Best Buy, I would have figured out how to own my own Best Buy.
Yeah.
That's just in my nature. And I think more than anything, the leadership part of who we are, we're great leaders because we're better servants. And I think that's what has opened up so many doors for us. And to learn from so many people that have poured into us, you know, to allow us to see a world outside of just this box.
Yeah.
We've been blessed to be around like just great people.
And I think that is the true cheat code of our journey, is that we've had incredible people to lean on, to stand on, and to get guidance from. And that definitely plays a role in your outcome, because, you know, it's like we say, you know, for us to do what we've done in our 35 years of music, like we had to go out and do it to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. And we've been fortunate to be around people that have gone out and done it, to be able to come back to us and share the cheat codes. Right.
Yeah.
And that's truly, I mean, that's a well-crafted journey, and well-crafted journeys lead to success.
Yeah.
And that's just, you know, and we talk about it often. I mean, we've been doing quite a few sit-downs like this, and it's like we're always talking about, you know, just the information and how accessible it is. And I think with what we've been able to do, it's our goal to make sure we're not just handing you the baton, but we're actually handing you the information. Because technology has made it to where you can skip those steps, right?
Yeah.
You can roll out of bed and say, I'm an entrepreneur, right? But until you actually get in the trenches, spend some of your own money, come up with a business plan, assemble a team that requires accountability, like that's a different, you know, that's a different mindset. That's a different skill set.
And I really I love that you said that, because I feel like even the boss of the boss, he needs someone to be accountable to.
Absolutely.
Because then you kind of get lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Well, you start breathing
You know?
your own air.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You start breathing
Yeah.
your own air, and it's like, you know, like to Bob's point, I mean, you can't really be a leader unless you know what it takes to be a servant.
Yeah, and that's another thing. When you said that, I had a entrepreneur come in here, and he said what he did to become a business owner. He said, I became the best follower to the
That's
business
it,
owner.
man. That's
I
correct.
became
That
the
is
best
crucial.
follower.
Big
I
time.
made sure I became the best one though.
Yeah.
And he goes, now I have my own business and I'm doing. And I was like, whoa, that was a good
Yeah.
analogy.
Like for
And
us-
even biblical,
Yeah, yeah,
biblical.
absolutely.
It's even in the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's real. You know what I mean? Like I believe that.
Well,
Yeah.
there, you know, I think too, there's levels to this thing, and I think you have to put in your time. You got to be able to have the mop the floor mentality. It's like, you know, being able to roll out with your laptop and put a song down and call yourself a producer of music. You got to understand there's a level of excellence that this thing still requires if you want to have longevity. For us to get in the studio, guess what you got to do? You got to put a budget together, right? Then you got to get your engineer. It costs money. So your level of respect for it is absolutely different than the kid who's got the laptop and he's doing everything in that thing, doesn't require any additional things, and that only takes you so far, right? Because now you're taking something that was never meant to be an isolated experience, and now you're isolating yourself. So think of all the steps you're missing with talking to an engineer who's mixed great records. You know, Bernie Grum is a mastering facility. Think of those things you're missing there, and you're just in this box and you're delivering a product, right? How high level can you deliver that product when it's just you and you don't have that experience? And so we come from the era of being groomed, right? Like development, you know, media training, how to move on stage, you know, your hand gestures, like all those things, like the Berry Gordy, you know, template.
And people don't even get that deep in it no more. They think they could just walk in and do things. And
Now, mind you, you can, but it's short-lived.
yeah,
It's
I believe
short-lived.
that 100%.
Short-lived.
Yeah, because the thing is it's you're putting on a show regardless. At the end of the day, but at the end of the day, you need to know what you're talking about too. So a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. They go off their feelings and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to. I look at it like this: you got to create the blueprint,
Yeah.
and you got to execute it.
Yeah.
So you can't just have all these dreams and all these aspirations, but you have no goals. You have nowhere you're gonna go. You don't have it mapped out.
Yeah.
Like you got to have it mapped out. But even then, a lot of people can't even get past the map.
Yeah,
They
and you
don't
got
execute it.
you got to seek the information. You got it's like, who are you talking to, man? Are you leaning on anybody that's done it at a high level to give you that just different, you know, perspective and mindset? Because the journey requires all of that. Let's be clear. The journey requires all of that, because you got to turn here, you got to make a left here, you got this speed bump right here, then you got this dead end right here. It's like, yo, you need some navigational tools.
Well, that's actually the hardest part. Is that
Yeah,
part?
yeah.
You know what I mean? If you really
Hardest part,
think about it, that's the hardest part. Because let's say you get on that journey, and all of a sudden you're just like crashing, burning all the time, or you know, you get to a point where a lot of people get to a point where they parted their money away too.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So there's
Yep.
so many
But
aspects.
some of that gets harder too, because you got people who know the journey, who've been on the journey, but they're gatekeepers.
Yeah.
yeah,
And so some people don't reach back and share information anymore.
At all, yeah.
Yes,
And
sure.
I've experienced it firsthand where you got people who are in certain positions
Yeah.
and they won't share anything.
And you know that comes from more of like the poor side of things, like middle
Yeah,
class.
crabs
and
in the barrel.
those are
Yeah.
that's why the upper class, they keep getting upper because they all be sharing the information.
Yeah, I go through that, like, you know, with artists. It's like, okay, oh, you know better? Got you. Come see me later.
Yeah, have at it.
Come
Have
see
at
me
it.
later.
And I'll say
love
this:
that.
If you think you know,
yeah,
hey,
It ain't worth the
I
argument.
think I'm professional,
right.
but obviously I'm unprofessional. So
Yeah.
like, go ahead and have it. And I think, you know, it's just like you were saying. Like, it was a great example. You're able to go live.
Mhm.
Why? Because you planned for it.
Mhm.
You've been doing it for two years, right? You're not playing catch up.
Yeah.
You started off that way,
Yeah.
right? You're not after the fact. Well, how do I do this? Because I got to. That's a whole part of planning. You know,
Yeah.
that's a whole part of seeing something, executing it at a high level, and being prepared, and allowing you to have the kind of platform that is disruptive. That's what all of that takes.
And,
Yeah.
and
It's
see,
that mindset.
and see, that's another thing that you guys said that like hits hard, right? So it's like, so this is I own this business, right?
Yeah.
I built a studio in here, so I kind of like to put things towards that. So like, let's say I have a technician building an engine, right? He's completely certified. He's been doing it for years. I get this guy out of school to come in. He's saying, "Hey, you're doing it wrong. This is how you should do it." He's never even touched an engine before. So I've worked with people. I've only been doing this 2 years, right? But I've had some people involved, and they were trying to tell me how to do it, but they never even researched, did anything, did nothing. And we're growing faster than I thought we should have grown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, I research. I do my homework.
Yeah, you do your homework.
Yeah.
Because-
Sure.
And here's the thing: I want to be clear on this, because it's important for people to understand when we talk about these things, we talk about them at a level of passion and honesty only because we care about it that much. We've died to this thing many of times. We've bled. We've missed, birthdays, Christmases with family. We've sacrificed at a very high level. So we care about this shit. It ain't about like, oh man, you guys are just the old cats. And no, man, like if you want to be here and you want to impact the world, we're needle movers, right? Everything we've done on our scoreboard, we've actually moved culture, right? And so when you want to do things at that level, then you got to understand there's no cheating the process. There's
Yeah.
no shortcuts. There's no like you think you know or I think I can do it. No, it's like when you get up in that environment and them lights hit you, you better be able to deliver hands down. There is no redo. Like, there's no
Yeah,
redo.
it
You know
is
what I'm
talks.
saying?
I'm that guy that's like, oh, okay, you want to test me? I'll kill you. I'm at peace knowing what I have in my utility
Yeah,
belt,
yeah.
right? I know what
At the
weapons I
highest
got.
level.
So if I'm graceful enough to just help you, man, you never hear a sponge talk.
Yeah.
You gotta take it in.
You
know?
gotta shut the fuck up. And
Yeah.
listen,
Well, you
dude.
know,
Like,
like,
for real.
to your point, like I'll never forget Floyd Mayweather had won a fight. And they're at, well, why were you having problems like this? You really didn't move how you, blah, blah. And Floyd looked at him, he said, how are you asking me and telling me about how I didn't move?
I love that.
You never
And you
been
know
in
what?
the ring.
You ain't never been in the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't even tell me
Was
what
it
a
the
combination.
host?
Yeah, the host. Yeah.
I know. I saw the same thing, and I was thinking in my head too.
Yeah, it's like, what are you talking about?
Dude, it's because everybody hated him, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you don't know shit about boxing. All you do is talk about it. That's
Yeah.
it. And it was true. And it's like, dude, how are you gonna try to explain to a 50-0 fighter
Yeah.
how to box?
And bro, this is the crazy
never
thing.
put no gloves on.
We ended
Yeah.
up meeting him and working with him for a few months in Vegas, and we got really close. And he started showing us like these videos of guys who would challenge him, and he would take them. He was like, "Okay, come at 5 o'clock to my gym." Man, this little dude was knocking these guys that were like 6'2", 6'3". He was pounding on them like
Wow.
like they were gonna have brain damage. He was that good, but he worked out every day. He still even when he retired, he still worked
Ran
out
at 4 a.m. in the morning.
That's his thing.
That dude's a beast.
Yeah.
So
He's
he's
a
a beast.
He's a
He's a
machine.
gym
He is.
rat.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
in. He like his whole team has to cater to when he wakes up and he goes, "Hey, we're running."
Yep.
Boom, they're running at 3 a.m. Like
Yep.
when I looked at this dude and when everybody was hating him, I was like, "Who is this dude? Is a fucking monster."
I'm going to tell you,
Yeah.
when
You
you,
know what I
look
mean?
at that, see, he's a perfect example of when talent meets discipline,
Yep.
discipline meets commitment, and commitment meets execution.
Yeah.
He is that.
And,
You know what I'm
mind you,
saying?
he's great at dominoes, spades.
Basketball.
We played basketball, and man, he's
So,
that guy.
That's the thing. It's like, you know, we're big on, like, we find videos on Instagram that are inspirational videos. Like, we're always sharing those videos. And
Yeah.
one common individual that always comes up in our video sharing is Michael Jordan, right? And we always believe that success always requires a team. Nobody does it by themselves,
I
right?
agree 100%.
And when you look at Jordan and what he was able to do, meaning his guys were able to elevate, he was able to lead. Now, mind you, he led with an iron fist. But I'm going to tell you, to get those championships, that's what it requires.
Yeah,
I love that.
And he made everybody
That was a
better.
great
You
analogy.
got to have a team.
Yeah, and that's what it requires. Like, getting, like, even
That's
Super
real,
Bowl,
dude.
right? When we did Super Bowl,
So
like,
hold on. Don't just say it like that. Because I wanted to say that. Like, damn, you guys try to say it so fast. Like, wait a minute, hold up. You guys did the Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah.
what the, like, dude, really? Like, are you guys are the first, like, Latinos, right, to
Yeah.
do
you
it?
could say we are the first
Mexicans.
Mexicans. yeah, we're Mexicans.
I
baby.
didn't want to, like, you know what I'm saying?
We're
Like,
Mexicans.
so you guys are the first Mexicans to do the Super Bowl.
yeah.
Like, that is wild, dude.
I'm telling you, these
Super
are
wild.
legends.
Dude,
Yeah.
that
Super
is
wild.
legendary. Yeah.
Super wild.
Yeah.
But to that point is, at the end of the day, it took us a journey of 35 years to be able to execute at the level that was required. You don't wake up 5 years into this, 10 years in this, and think you could put on a Super Bowl show.
Yeah.
You will fold like
That
a
shit was
tortilla.
constant
Is that what you
work.
said?
Yeah, you
Hold
fold like a
on.
tortilla, man.
How did you guys feel when you guys found out you guys were doing the Super Bowl?
You know, for me, I was telling it was a long journey. So we started in Vegas with Ush at Caesar's Palace. That was his first residency. And there was just something magical about that. At that time, we had just got off of COVID. And it was really the first show that Vegas, promoted. And we knocked it out of the park. And we just really felt like, he's going to run another marathon. We seen that in him. And he just, from that point on, man, he came back. Vegas wanted him. He went to the MGM Park, and he was getting all the accolades, and
The universe.
the
was like,
universe was tuned in to him. And so I told him, I said in August, I was like, he's going to do the Super Bowl, because he had just got the key to the city. And, I know everybody around me was like, kind of crazy. But my thing is, I have this like intuition, and I can smell certain things. And I just really felt that it was going to happen. So one morning, Lil John hits me up. He was like, "Did you see?" And all I had to do was I went Super Bowl. That's all I did on Sunday. It's like 7:00. I just typed in Super Bowl, and it was like USA Today. Usher's doing Super Bowl. So then I text him, and then I called him, and as we're talking, Iz had all these messages from Ush and from the team.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was crazy because,
But how'd you feel at that moment? I want to know. how
well,
you guys felt.
honestly, man, I was on the phone with my brother, and as he's telling me this, I look at my phone, and it's like I got all these texts like at 6 a.m. And I hadn't got a chance to look at my texts yet, because I was actually my first get up was to his call. So as he's telling me this, I'm like, I'm looking at my phone because I'm getting ready to go online while I'm on the phone with him. And I see all these messages. I was like, oh, let me check my message. And sure enough, it was there. The messages were there like, hey, Super Bowl, you guys ready? And so, I mean, you don't, at that moment, you're just like, oh, wow, crazy, And what was crazy is I had talked to Ush in August. He called me in August, and we were just catching up. And I asked him about the bowl, and he was like, man, I've done all I can do. I've campaigned. I'm on my A game, and so he's like, man, if they call me, great. But I feel like I've done as much. I was like, okay. I was like, man, I think they're gonna call you. He said, man, we'll see. And then we wrapped up our conversation, and so a month and a half goes by, and then that news drops, and I'm on the phone with my bro. It's like we didn't even really have a chance to really like
Soak it in.
Yeah,
in. It was
yeah,
just
yeah.
for us. It was like go time.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Well,
okay.
it was like, go time.
and my thing was like, your spidey senses still work. They
Shit.
still work.
But do y'all realize how powerful that is? Because we all know that Ush has a whole team around him.
Yeah.
And for you guys to be delegated for that task, in front of millions,
Millions.
knowing that y'all got to deliver.
You know what, man? I don't take that lightly. You know, I've been on the road with Ush for years, and I thanked him for this too. You know, it's like, you know, thank you for trusting in my brother and myself and Lil John to tackle this task for you, because the reality is, a guy at his level can call anybody, but he chose to call us. And you know, I think that will always speak to the brotherhood that we've been able to curate with him throughout the years. Consistency.
Yeah.
We've always been honest, even if it was brutal. Even if it was like, motherfucking no.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's real shit.
that's
though.
real shit, though.
And he's gonna. That's why probably he had you do it, because he respected you guys
Well,
for that.
well, you get angry and mad at the ones you love, and, and you let them know. The ones you don't, you're like, whatever.
Whatever.
And I think, you know, the opportunity, it was like, what I started thinking about was like, you know, the people who are not here with me and can't see that really helped me.
That been on the journey. Yeah.
You know, like, who are you inviting or who's going to, I'm thinking about the people that aren't here, that are 6 feet deep, that always told me like, Bobby, you're going to be this, you know, one day. And, you know, it take like is to Iz's point, you know, I had my boy, Byron, he was picking up all my keyboards, making sure stuff got to the rehearsal halls. I had my stylist, Stephanie, like just taking care of me, like at that time. So, because my head was so creative, right?
You had to be.
And then
we were zombies, bro.
yeah, I mean, we died with it. We're in the room. It's like in the studio, Jermaine Dupri's there. I mean, L.A. Reid, everybody's, and it's like they know we're confident. We know what we're doing. I was never frightened, not one bit. But our thing was like, let's just make sure everybody's ideas are the right ones, because we don't get an overdo. We can't do that. We don't get a redo and an overdo. It's like, it's no rehearsal. You get one shot. And this is something that we're going to have to live with for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And even when we're gone.
I didn't even do it. You're making me nervous.
And here's the thing. I mean, and all of that is on one side of the coin. The other side of that coin is the expectation that the NFL folks have, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're in these conversations and you're talking to the audio guys, and then you're talking to the folks at ratings. I mean, you have to be in a space where you challenge it all the way through. Is it good enough? No, we can make this better. And every step of the way, you know, even down to the last 2 to 3 days before the show, it's like constantly refining to where you get to a point. It's like we rock solid. This is what we're going with, and we're good.
Before you ask this question, and man, you just made me think about this. Is so. Having an opportunity like the Super Bowl, it's so amazing because, you know, I started an incredible relationship with Baby Bash after all these years. And through him, his engineer, we thought he was a perfect fit to actually engineer the whole entire show for us. So through our opportunity, there's so many others that were able to be blessed and be a part of that.
Damn.
And,
That's
you know,
cool.
from Bruce Bang, the engineer with Bash, he was so happy. Like Nick from the Hideout Studios, Zoe, who owns the Hideout Studios. Then we had Manny Marroquin, who's like one of the insane mixing engineers on the face of the earth, who's doing everything from Post Malone to, I mean, Kendrick, everybody. And we were all able to huddle up as a team and offer the opportunity. We did it together. And I think that to me was like even, that meant so much more because we were able to empower people and put them in position.
Well, I think that's great because when you build a network and you use your network, like, hey, this is what I built throughout the years, these people that I trust, and then you're doing the biggest show of your life, you're like, I'm bringing my people too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, here's what I will say to that, because there is an expectation of, well, man, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you call me? And you have to understand there is a certain part of this where you have to be able to decipher the killers that you know are going to get in that seat and without a shadow of a doubt, kill it.
It was just it was the timing. Like Lil Jon he's been doing the NFL stuff forever. And so with him and his partner Chronic, he understood like it's got to feel like this in Vegas. And this is how the NFL rocks. It can't be, you know, we're going to make some people pissed off because they're going to want to hear certain records, but we needed to keep the pace. In the tempo. And then we had to take in consideration, this is Usher's show. We gotta gear towards what he also wants as an artist, as a
And
creative.
then weave it all together.
And put all that.
seamlessly.
So, bro, everybody had their expectations. So we're like, all right, let's figure it out. And he was calling audibles. Man, I mean, he called so many audibles. It was like, okay, enough. Even John was like, hey, y'all got it. I can't do this. And, that was, it was seriously like, it was heavy lifting.
And that's the commitment to perfection, right? It's constantly shaping and then being able to, challenge each other. Like that's how you get the championship. You don't get the championship by everything being smooth.
Yeah.
Every day you got an on
yeah.
day, and every day that
Not at all.
3-point
There
is
was like
landing.
it was like horns all over. I was like, "Hey man, that's corny. We need to get." And he was like, "Well, no, we have to." And it's like we were going back and forth, and I think we were able to incorporate all of our gears as musicians and producers, like in that like 12 minutes that we had.
That's
it
a
was
dope
like
team.
we just had everything. We put everything, and we knew like, man, they're looking at us. They trust us, but like.
Well, the thing
this
is
tough.
what's crazy, my whole life, Usher has been known to have legendary concerts.
Yeah.
People that didn't even like him, like people are like, oh, I just went because my girl took me. Dude, his concert's insane. Like they were Usher fans immediately, right?
Very true.
But he chose you guys to be one of the to help him with the biggest performance of his life. Dude, it's the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Every artist wants to do the Super Bowl.
For sure.
But he picked you guys, and he's known for legendary concerts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he picked you guys to do the biggest part of his life.
He did, and
Yeah.
and
I love him for
thankful-
that.
Yeah,
love him for that.
Love him for it, and I'm thankful that I got a chance to sit with him before the madness and just thank him because I said it's important for you to know what this does for our culture as Mexicans, right? And for you to trust us that much, not even about loving us, because even with love, you got to make decisions, and you can't always put
Exactly.
your people on, right?
Trust
So
ain't
who's going to
always
get the
there.
Yep,
who's going to get the
exactly.
job done? And by him trusting us, it also showcased what it looks like when blacks and Mexicans do something at a high level.
Hey,
We break records. We break records. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And
hey,
it
we're
was-
from here, dude. It's all black and Mexicans, dude.
Hey,
That's
man.
for
sure.
sure.
It's a IE, baby.
That's what it is. That's exactly what it's about.
Don't ever
Perfect.
get it twisted.
Man.
Dude,
Yeah.
what did he say when you said that to him?
Man, he just looked at me and he's like, "It's a big one, huh?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, it's a big one, bro." Like,
And
you know,
we made it look easy to him because like in the middle of doing the Super Bowl, he was working on it. He was trying to finish his album, and I'm focused on the Super Bowl. He's like, "Hey man, can you play bass on this one record?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get
like,
to
man,
it."
that's a distraction.
I'm
What
like,
are you talking about?
He's like, I'm like, you shouldn't be thinking about that. Like, but he was in his moment too. He was excited.
Yeah.
He had a different regiment. He was staying in like this RV that was parked in this venue. I mean,
Hyperbaric chamber.
he was doing everything that he needed to. And, when it came down to it, him singing live, I mean, we were just like, okay, man, all right. And it's like, we knew what he wanted to do. We just didn't know when. I mean, there was a segment with Superstar where we were like, why this record? We got to play You Remind Me. And he was like, no. He was just stuck on this moment.
Adamant about it.
And then when we're on stage and then we says, hey, Mom, I was like, oh.
This for you, my number one.
And we were like, that's why you, and that was something close to his heart. He said, they said we couldn't do it. They said we were, and Mom, we made it. And then I was like, hey,
That's
got it.
why.
Yeah.
And the human element like meant so much to him at that moment, which was dope.
And when you look at his pedigree, right, which is we all know is well-rounded, right, from entertainer, singer, dancer, he was built for that moment. Like he was truly built to leave
for
his
sure.
imprint on
Yeah.
the Super Bowl
For
show.
sure.
That's what he was
like,
built
no
for.
doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
he was. I mean, I think too,
He has shifted the culture entirely.
he did. And we
Everybody wanted to be Usher. When I was
we
growing
saw
up,
the transition.
I tried
Like
to dance like him. Everybody did.
when
you know
he
what I
did
mean?
the Super Bowl, I think when we were in the tunnel, and this is a crazy thing because a year before, I was with Lil Jon. He was doing a Gonkrowski event in Phoenix, and we were there, and it was like, man, one day we might be doing the Super Bowl with Ush. So when we ended up doing it in the tunnel before we went out, I looked at John. I had my phone, and he looked. He was like, "We did it.
Yeah.
We made it." And we're like, Jermaine here, Will I Am, and we're cracking jokes, and it's like, dude, this is crazy.
It's wild.
Like we're getting ready to
So
go
Mexicans
out.
from the IE, you hear
Come
it?
on, man.
Let's
Come
do
on.
it. This is what
Making
we do
it
out
happen.
here in the IE.
Yeah,
There's a lot
man.
of talent out here, man.
Man,
People
there's-
don't know.
Man,
There is.
C4, Dirty Bird, like there's Dominique, there's so much talent out here. And I think, to Iz's point earlier, it's like we're in a stage in our life where it's like, it's so tough out here. And, we really need to be that so deaf in the IE that JD is to Atlanta. And we need to do that for our region. There's so much talent that is here that never gets the opportunity.
Yep.
And it needs some navigation,
That's
right?
it.
Some development.
Yeah, it's all of that, man. It's like
But
some
you
hope,
notice
information.
That's what they do all the time back down south.
They
That's
do.
that's part of their culture is helping the next. It doesn't happen out here on the West Coast like that too often.
It doesn't.
Because
That's-
it's all
that's
give
their
me,
whole
give me,
culture.
give me. You know what I mean?
Man, when can I step on you to get to the? It's like
Exactly.
and you don't realize like what you're cheating is pennies.
Dude, and you're cheating yourself. Like,
Yeah.
Like the thing is you could be making, like, let's just say like this, man. This is a doggy dog world. I had a partner in my business. We were killing it. I'm talking about killing it. Like I had 28 employees. It was a whole nother level. He tried to screw me over. I had to get rid of him. We could have been like, we literally were looking into get another shop, franchising, all this stuff. And it all had to go. I almost lost everything, but we had to
that's
keep
crazy.
it rolling. But that's what I'm saying is,
He thought too small.
and that's the thing. We were when I say killing it was another level. We had the biggest accounts we like ever. It was in another level. But what I'm saying is that's the industry. That's everything.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I feel like so many people want to just step on each other to get a dollar when you could be like completely building something like that can last forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sustainability, and I think that's where where our mindset is at. It's like we don't want to fly a house that's built on sand, and when the wind comes, it gets torn down. We're like, it might not be that sexy, but let a storm come here, and we'll be
Dude,
fine.
That is wild. I have literally used that analogy so many times. I
Yeah.
go, do you build your house on sand or you build it on solid rock?
Yeah.
And I've used that like 3 times on the pod. Dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and to be in the game as long as we've been in the game, no one's that lucky.
yeah.
And I don't care who you are.
Completely, yeah.
When there's guys that are in the game or any business for a long period of time, we'll always say, greatness is always defined by over a period of time.
Yeah.
And no one gets there by mistake. So for us, we've been able to exercise that muscle over and over again and evolve. And then the most important thing is learn. Like I thrive. Like if I'm not learning, I don't feel like I'm progressive. Even with my personal life, if I'm not
And you
not
never
learning,
stop.
and you never stop, man.
Ever.
And
And things change anyways.
Always.
You got to realize, I feel like that's another big downfall for entrepreneurs is they think they know it all.
right,
Well, yeah, that
You
too.
know?
And I think collaboration is everything
Oh, for sure.
because it's always about working smarter, not harder, right?
Mhm.
And I think you get to a place where you realize you don't have to be the guy that does everything.
Yeah.
Collaboration is an incredible tool when you do it with somebody that's like-minded, and you can collaborate and you can climb the mountain together.
Yep.
Because I'm gonna tell you, when you climb that mountain all alone, and you ain't got your homie ain't got the jug of water that you need just to take a couple more steps up. It's important.
I love
You
that
got to be able
analogy.
to collaborate, and everything it ain't always about you.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think when you finally realize it ain't about you, then I think things go a lot smoother.
yeah,
Because
that's
because you
factual.
like at things differently. Like
Yeah, you
it's
do.
really not about you. It's
Yeah.
about the mission. It's about the brand. Like it's
Yeah.
what like it's like nobody knows who Batman really is, right? But they know the bat symbol. They know
Yeah,
that.
exactly, yeah.
That's all they need is the symbol.
right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yesterday I was at a birthday party and I met Jazzy Faye, the producer, for the first time, and he was like, we're talking, and he's like, man, I've heard of you guys, I never, and he happened to go to Eisenhower, and he lived in Rialto for a little bit of time, and we just started talking, and I think what really resonated in our conversation was that, no matter how many Grammys we have or how many records we've sold, at the end of the day, man, I love music. And
That's your, like, number one passion.
when you understand that,
At all
it's like,
costs.
Yeah.
yeah,
At all
I'll
costs.
die to it. And that's when you figure out what your purpose is. It's scary because you can go far, and there a lot of pain comes along with that, a lot of trauma comes along with that. a lot of agony, a lot of defeat. But I always say, like, the success part, like, I always say, like, your speech, your Oscar award speech or your Grammy speech is only like 30 or 40 seconds, right? And then you can't even thank everybody that
Before the
helped you
music
get
comes
there.
on.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, but it's really the failure, man. It's the failure and the learning that's
Yeah.
the most powerful
It
thing.
is. It is.
It's really about that
It
part of it.
is.
When I
Go ahead,
I was
go
going to
ahead.
say, when I look at our journey, you're talking close to 40 years. The success part of it all is like,
Tiny.
it's tiny, right?
know.
But with everything in between that is where the meat and potatoes are. That's where the treasure is, because the treasure is endurance, right?
Yep.
Love and commitment and understanding what your gift is for. Your gift isn't for you, it's for somebody else. It's for inspiration, right? It's to move the needle, it's to make people feel something.
Mm-hmm.
Bob always says, like, when you understand that your gift isn't for you, it's for others. There's a lot of things that perspective. We always say perspective is everything, because it's how you view things. What we do is just music. But what makes it unique and timeless is that we're taking our gift, we're harnessing our energy in ways that you can't even explain, to inspire somebody, to change somebody's day, right? To be able to get in front of kids in education and help them find who they are or who they want to be. That's why we say you got to be able to go out and do it to be able to come back and talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I can sit in a room and talk about success, our success, and that's about 5 minutes. But where they're really going to find the navigational tools and the wisdom is by telling them that this industry is brutal. This industry will take your soul, right? You got to have a safety net. What's your safety net? Your foundation, people that you love, right? See, nobody ever talks about how to look out for those roads that have the potholes in the middle. We always talk about, it's tough, but nobody ever really goes into detail about the things to look for and how you get through that stuff.
Yeah,
like
just
your
like
darkest
Ambition was
hour.
saying. Yep.
And see,
your
that's
darkest
the
hour.
reason I started the podcast. That was literally the reason. I went on somebody's podcast for an entrepreneurship panel, and I talked about nothing but the dirt of it, the cutthroat of it.
yeah.
And they were like, we've never had anybody on here that did this. Like, you guys, you're telling the real shit. I was like, dude, I was negative in the account. I had payroll the next day. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I had to figure it out. And I broke it down. And then everybody's like, you need to start one. And then I started bringing, because I had other friends that are business owners, bringing them in. And that's how this whole thing started.
That's great.
So I felt like that's kind of my thing. Like, my calling, I guess, is to, I love talking to other entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's like, I don't know.
Well, because you constantly learn.
Always. And you can always take something. Like, when you learn, I've learned so many different things, small little things that twisted my business to build it where I wanted.
Yeah.
Because I was like thinking, man, I can pull that from what they do in their business. I can pull that from what they do in theirs.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then obviously networking. I mean, it never gets old. You can always work with somebody somehow.
Yeah.
Like, all it takes is figuring it out.
And
You know
some
what I
folks are stepping stones. You gotta be able to understand who's the stepping stone and who's supposed to be there with you for the entire ride.
It's the
who's
season.
long haul and who's
Yeah.
who's
I mean,
on.
like you said, like, I get asked, well, how do I do this and how can I be that? And it's like, there are certain fundamentals that never change, but my journey is different than yours. I can't tell you, how to do this, how to do that. But what I can tell you is that there's these fundamentals here
That will
and
never
if-
fail you.
They will always
Try.
come and birth a result. And if you don't do that, they too will bite you in the ass because they're going to remind you.
Yeah.
We were talking about just even my dad hustling and being able to be that guy. Some of the best coaches, Phil Jackson was a terrible basketball player, but a better coach.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it works. It's like you figure out where your strong points are because it wasn't his journey to be a Larry Bird. It was for him to be one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
And that's what I say too is when all else fails, go back to basics.
Yeah.
Because you can be like thinking, why is it not working? What am I doing? Then you're like, dude, just shut up for a minute. Think about let's get back to basics.
Yeah.
But see, and that's the scary thing, because most folks in this newer generation don't even understand the basics.
They don't even know there is basics.
They
That's
don't.
the problem.
They don't. Yeah, and so
No.
being able to be in a position to be able to walk them through those things, the things that matter, the things that are going to give them a career span, and at the end of the day, you just hope that they'll listen and they'll sponge it. But I'll tell you this, and Bob will agree with me. For those that haven't done it yet, but in their mind they have, we got nothing for you.
Yeah, and it's
we
true,
got
like,
nothing for you.
and this is the crazy thing about music, right? Because music is led with your heart. Man, I had one of the most incredible songwriters, talented singers, and man, he just couldn't sustain it, and he ended up dying of drugs. And that's how crazy this journey is in music. I mean, it's, look at Chino Excel. I mean, a great brother of ours, and what he was going through, like having back problems, not knowing where he's going to get his paycheck. He's got kids, and he felt like the best thing for me to do is to check out and hang myself. That's how powerful this thing called music is. Again, it's like the most like divine language we have on earth in terms of how we communicate with each other. Like, that's the most powerful shit we got. And for us to be stewards of that gift, it's really important to understand, what music is really all about. I mean, we have the structure of business around the music, but music is a universal language that is beyond anything that's tangible. This is like the shit that hits your spirit, can change your mind. Say you're going through a tough day, or like, man, you don't know what you're going to do, how you're going to pay this, how you're going to get through that. And music just has a way of just, putting you in a place, and it lets you think. It provokes thought. It allows you to get you back in a certain way, and that's what it does. And that's the powerful thing about music.
So I want to ask you guys then, because you guys been in this game a long time, and there's all these stories, like you're talking about, him hanging himself and drugs and all that. But you guys lasted in this game. We talked about foundation.
Mm-hmm.
What is your foundation built off of?
For me, my foundation is built off of my unconventional, unconditional love for my kids and my promise to them. My life changed when I found out I was going to be a dad with my first son, Isaiah. And my commitment to that was just making sure that the space I occupied as a father was led by an example, led by an insane appetite to go get it. Being able to display the template in real time to my son, to show him that I may not have it all figured out, but what I do know is that I'm gonna get up every day. I'm gonna go get it. And because of that appetite, I'm gonna be able to give you a life that a lot of parents struggle to give their kids. But I'm committed to that idea of you having options later on in life. And I know I got to go pay the price. And honestly, just that mentality alone.
He said, I know I got to go pay the price.
I got to go pay the price. But I'm going to tell
Price
you,
for everything.
Yeah,
just
there
that
is.
mentality alone is what kept my eye on the prize, is what kept me. You know how horses have those things they wear?
The blinders,
I've never taken mine off.
Yeah.
I have never taken mine off. Like, and we'll tell you. Like, I've never taken mine off because
had many a
I'm
talks.
committed. I'm committed to making sure.
Well, it gets warped
I'm on my
anyways. You
square.
can't take that shit
Oh,
off.
man.
Like, you
Yeah, I
cannot
can't.
take them off.
You,
dude.
but I'm going to tell you, like, there's things that'll come across you in life that'll convince you to take them off.
Yeah.
And
I mean, with women,
everything, bro.
drugs,
All
it could
of
be
it.
anything, dude.
all of it. And I think, I think my promise to what I represent as a man, as a father, was really based on me not just replicating what my father did to us, and that was a promise I made to myself, and ain't nothing changed.
Fatherhood is a big topic we talk
Absolutely.
about in this podcast.
Absolutely. It's
Because
Yeah.
because that's everything, man. Like, same thing when I had my kids, it changed everything for me, dude. And that's like the whole point, like, of being a man. You have to teach your kids and train them up the best way you can. You want them to be better than you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the whole point of this.
Yeah.
And who's going to want your kids to be better than them but their parents?
Yeah.
Only their parents. You know what I mean? I was talking to somebody earlier, and I was like, I had my kids when I was 28, my first son. They have right off the bat, they love you. Okay, you learned that love at 28, but they had that love their whole life to you, right?
Yeah.
Their whole life they've had that love to you. So you're responsible for that. You are. That's a huge responsibility.
It
People
is.
think, whatever, I'm gonna do my thing. No, that's what you need to do. Okay, above anything else. You know what I mean? And I would truly believe that,
Yeah.
you know, and I love that you said that.
Yeah.
That's like, that's
Because
a real man
and
right
that was
there.
the thing. Like even for me, you know, at the time I was 21 or 20, and I'm trying to find me. Right, I'm trying to find what's going to define me as what I have to offer. You know, that's a very vulnerable place to be in as a dude. That's you know, maturing and trying to figure shit out. And as soon as I got that call, ping, I was like, okay, I know what I need to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you morphed into
You
something
morphed,
else. Like,
yeah,
it is
yeah.
morphed into something.
Oh, you remember that?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, it's like my journey was crazy, man. My dad he was so damn reckless. Man, when I say reckless, he's the capital R
Damn.
in reckless. And my journey was one that was built around diving into music and allowing music to just be that safe haven for me. And I was just so in tune creatively. I mean, it was pouring out of me. And dealing with my dad was like really tough. And so
That was your escape.
it was, yeah, 100%. And with that, there were people that came into my life who were men who poured into me in a different way. And all the things and the aspects of life that where I was lacking, they filled those voids, and it made me better. So I just became like, you know, our boy Johnny Scott would always say, man, you're like a mad scientist. And I, you know, when I look back at the work I was doing at 15, 16 years old, I can't even believe it. Like a kid. Like I see now what it is because I do have kids, but like what were you thinking? I ask myself all that time, like, this is all I know, but like, where did you get that from? Like, how could you do this? Like, and
gift.
again,
Yeah.
it's
I
like,
think
you know,
that's a lot of it.
it's the safe haven, and again, the more you work at it, the more you pour into that talent, it just rises, right? They say you can't hold talent down, and that's the how you cannot hold talent down, by just pouring into it. And so when I got older, you know, my thing was, it's like my teenage years started when I was like maybe 30, because when I had a kid, my son, I just realized like, damn man, how can my dad be so foul? Because now I got a son.
Yeah.
You know, so I was going through so much. A guy who never drank, I started drinking. I went into that space, and I couldn't talk to nobody. You know, and I had to be. I was still creative and be productive, but that was a challenge for me. So for me now, what gets me up in the morning is, number one, I got to make sure that my son Angelo and my daughter Autumn have all the necessary tools to not be lazy,
Critical.
to work, to love, to allow them to be them, support them, and give them everything that I got, that I have to offer. And the thing with a parent, like you said, it's like, you know, to be a father or even a mother, we have an incredible mother. It's like there's no manual for that shit, right? So
Especially when your dad was running wild. My
man,
dad,
my dad was
you
my
know,
man. My
another
dad was
level.
he was reckless, and it's like he did the right thing the wrong way. And you know, what we do to each other affects how we make decisions
a ripple
and
in
how
the
we
water.
and how we move in our
It's
life.
a ripple in the water.
So, you know, for me, I'm trying to make sure that I'm the best version that I possibly can be. Because really, truthfully, like, I never knew that kind of love as a parent until obviously I was a parent, because my love was solely with music. Everything about music, it was like,
And then you had
that's
your
it.
kid.
And then I had my kid, it
You're
was like,
whoa.
it like, I felt
Changes
like,
everything.
you know, a piece of me left, but it was like, I gained something even better that really took my mindset and put it in a different, like, it was a different thinking capsule for me.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I want to be happy. I have less years ahead of me than I do behind me. My future needs me. My past doesn't need me. You know,
I love that.
I go back in the past, but I don't live in it. I can't. You know, we can't do that. And I lived in the past for many years, you know, going through things, and that's just the, you know, that's the imperfection of being a human, right? We're all under construction, so, you know, we find a way. But you know, I've had great people around me. I got my brother, like, you know, that's the great thing I can say. Like, I have that. I can pull from that well of love. I can pull from that well of trust, and I can pull, even if it's uncomfortable. I have that. So for me, my everyday living is I want to knock another pin down in music. I'm not over yet. I'm never going to be over with music. Music is always going to be a part of me. But there's other things that we're looking to do. We're working on a documentary where we just signed a deal with Universal for our own label. So
Congratulations.
there's
on that,
other
man.
things that
Congratulations.
we plan on doing. So man, I can't go to sleep at the wheel, man. I'm gonna sleep when I die.
Yeah.
But you
I
know
gotta
what's-
keep going.
But
And
you
I-
know what's
and-
dope though with all that? With everything you guys are going, you said pulling from that well with the love, and you have your brother.
Yeah.
The same love that you guys have with each other, you guys pour to people around you guys, and
Mm.
it shows. You guys don't walk around as, and you got, and
You guys
know,
are
I say,
humble
you know,
people.
I said all the time,
Yeah.
y'all legends, and I say that all the time, and we're friends, like real friends.
Yeah.
But it's like you guys pouring to everybody around you guys with such normalcy, and it's all intentional. There's no is looked out for me in so many different ways on things. He's pulled me on the things that he didn't have to pull me on.
Mm.
Just like, hey, I got something coming up.
Hey
Come
man,
with
why
me.
didn't you let me know? You pulled it.
And it's just a blessing when you guys pour that love out
Yeah.
because with the journey, you guys, even when you talking about stuff with your dad and different things, it can make your heart harden.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
really
Oh yeah,
become
absolutely.
hard. Yeah.
And honestly, that was the thing. My heart was hard, and we had all this success. Like even with Confessions and all the records we were doing, I really didn't.
That's why
I didn't like look at it like, wow, okay. It just was, and I really felt like I'm not fulfilled with that. I'm more fulfilled with practicing and playing every morning, but that didn't do it for me. And when I was told, hey man, you gotta have fun, man. You gotta, and I started having fun, and then it was like, wow, you have some issues, and it's like that treasure chest you throw in the ocean and you put the lock on it. You get into that world and you dive into it and you unlock it, everything surfaces. So I think too to A's point, it's like the thing for us is the magic is when you pour into somebody else and there's times where you don't deserve it and it still happens for you. It's because we poured into somebody else and we sowed seeds. And those seeds come back to help us grow in a different area.
I love that, dude. And that's biblical. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love that. I love what that makes so much sense,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, I think, through it all, the beautiful thing between us two is that we are the best of friends through it all. We are the definition of what a brother looks like.
That's dope.
And I think, I always say that life is never meant for one person to take on by themselves. And unfortunately, some people don't have somebody to reach for, to just lean on, and through this entire journey, whether it's been my journey, his journey, our journey together, is that at the end of the day, we've always had each other from day one. We've always been like-minded. We've always found joy in the same things. Although we have two different personalities, it's the yin and the yang, and it's the perfect combination for what we represent as brothers. And I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him. I wouldn't be able to do some of the things that I've been able to do in my life if it weren't for him.
Cool.
And when you're able to understand what that really means and and how powerful that is, it's never gonna be about what I've done, what he's done. It's what we've been able to do together, and in our moments where maybe I wasn't inspired or he wasn't inspired, we were able to find that sweet spot just by having this, and
Yeah, and he knows I'm the better brother. I mean, that's just,
well, that too, guys. So when you realize that you're the lesser, and that's the thing. I think that is the key to who we are as the Avila brothers. It's when you hear our music, you gotta know it's something beyond just what we do as musicians, because everybody wants to always understand our chemistry, how we create, how do we come up with that. And the reality is, we know what we're collectively as great at as individuals and what that means when it comes together. Could he do something on his own? Absolutely. Could I? Absolutely. But what we have is tried and true. And, that's something that is important to understand. It's important to acknowledge because there's so much more life outside of just being a musician, right?
yeah.
I think that's great. I think every sibling should work on that relationship with each other.
It's
Yeah.
important.
Like my two kids, they're like stuck at the hip, man. They love each other to death.
That's awesome.
And I love that because not all siblings are like that. You
No.
know? Me and my brother were really close, but the thing is though, you know, we grow up, we start doing our own thing
life
and all
takes its
that.
course.
But I always think that I mean, it's great that if you can just build together, because who can you really trust outside of that too? A lot of
Yeah.
It's hard.
Man.
Yeah, it's hard, and I think too the great thing is like all of my biggest moments that I've had in music, he was always there with me. So in my career, all those great, like we were able to share those moments
Yeah.
together. So it's like, you know, if I say, look, I went to Prince's house, and he's gonna, oh, I remember I got there too after. Like we shared all of those crazy moments together. You know, meeting and working with Maurice White from Earth, Wind and Fire was like, we did that together. We worked with Shaka Khan together. We worked with Mary J. Like, we were able to do all of that stuff together. So those monumental moments in our life that resonate at a high level, I can say like, dang, we were always together.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, when you look at the journey and you reflect, it's like, that's the coolest shit. You
Yeah.
know, it really is.
Yeah.
Because, you know, all we have is what we develop, and those are the memories. And those are the only things that stay with us. You know, and you know,
everything else is gonna burn.
everything else is gonna burn, man. You know, you know, like Denzel always says, man, you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. You know, you can't take it with you,
Yeah.
man.
Nothing.
Like it's like, you know, everything. We have a short time here on Earth, and you know, it's a shame that we think we're gonna be here forever, because the older you get, you start realizing, man, I take for granted the sun came up and my eyes are looking at it. You know, there's a lot of folks today who aren't alive. You know, my nephew's, his best friend's dad just passed away. It's like, just like that. You know, so I take it all in. I'm just glad that and blessed that I can do what I love to do, and I'm a craftsman. I can honestly say that, you know, I poured my whole entire life and I didn't do no 10,000 hours. My shit's on like 300,000 hours.
Yeah.
This is all I know,
Yeah.
right? So I can be proud in knowing that I've given everything that I have and continue to what I love. And now it's really like trying to just be a better human being, just improving in certain areas. So when I leave this earth, I don't leave shit behind. I'm taking everything with me, and everything in here, I'm good. I'm at peace. That's really how I want to go out. That's my mindset.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think too, you know, we want to be, you know, a huge part of our legacy is being able to say that what we are able to give and offer also enhance somebody's life. You know, and I think, you know, when you hear ambition, he speaks to that character part of us. You know, that's really who we are. You know, we don't covet anything. We know that it's a gift. What we have is a gift, right? And that gift is meant to be shared. That gift is meant to open doors for others where some may have challenges. And you know, I had a great experience with ambition. You know, I had a festival, the Status Music Festival that we did. What was it, like a month ago?
Yeah, about a month
A month
and a half
ago. And you know, we had an incredible turnout. Had 6,000 people, and you know, we had a lineup of over 30 artists. And you know, I remember hitting up M and it just was like, hey man, here's an opportunity, you know, and you know, of course, I'm always gonna be like, cool, I'm gonna throw you in the fire. You know, that's just the school we're from. I'm gonna throw you in the fire, see how well you do with it. And you know, man, he was able to get up there alongside of me and really hold his own. And I just remember standing back and looking at him and saying, man, job well done. You know, and being able to sit with him after that and just tell him how proud I was of him, to see him rock and pull through in a moment of chaos. Because when I tell you it was chaos, when you got over 30 artists handing you a thumb drive, telling you, okay, after this song, you're gonna go to song 3, right? And then you're gonna stop it here, and I watched him, and I'm like, okay, I'm right here, you know, hey, and you know, to see him thrive, man. And I think this thing is always about being able to hand somebody an opportunity, right? It's not that I owe him an opportunity. That's just who we are as people. You know, we're here to share it. You know what I'm saying? And I think those are the things I think we get the most joy out of, is being able to see people thrive by just offering folks a shot. Because the reality is, did somebody give us a shot? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so that's what we believe our legacy will consist of at the end of the day. When we're getting put in the ground, it's like, you know what, man, them cats, they opened door, they gave me a shot, and this is why I'm here, because I got this shot and I met this person. Like, that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, and the other thing too, the flip side of that coin is like, you know, all the bumps and bruises and all the turmoil that we've experienced, and you know, my heart getting broken left and right. In music, it's like I look out for that next guy. Like, man, if there's anybody
You do that.
anybody knows what it feels like, hey, I'll help you here.
Yeah.
You know, let me walk you through this, and whatever I can do, I'm here. I didn't say sign this contract. I didn't say sign this agreement. I didn't say, you know, I have to control all your decisions. It's like, no, this is what you're looking to do. Man, you got to set it up this way. This is what you should do over here. If you need anything, I got you, because I understand how powerful that is. And one decision could help change the course of somebody's life like that. And I've seen so many people around me, like, you know, I started, you know, Skilo. I started him off. I started a lot of guys, and you know, I saw the fruits of the inspiration that others got through, you know, my contribution. And truth be told, like it said, a lot of people have poured into us. So it's our job. It's our duty to pay it forward and to help the next man. We have to.
We have to. One of the things I say to artists a lot of times when we're working with a new artist, I always say, man, just remember us. All we want is 2 tickets.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, when you go out and you do the thing and the world acknowledges you, man, just if we can get 2 tickets to watch you do your thing. It's like, because when you think of how this thing moves and how fast it can go, you know, we pour our hearts into people. We pour our hearts into artists. We do our very best to culminate and curate something that's going to take them to the next level. And mind you, I mean, we're always like, okay, but you got to stick to the script. You got to listen. Here's the play-by-play, right? But when you get in those moments where you can see the trajectory of somebody's life change, it's like we want to be there to celebrate that, with you, right, as being a part of that journey. And so, you know, those are the things we joke around about when we're working with up-and-coming talent. It's like, you know, you're going to do some great things, but, you know, at the end of the day, just remember us. We just want 2 tickets. Because I'm going to tell you, motherfuckers forget.
Oh man. And you know what, man? I'm a firecracker. So I'm like, what? Oh, really? He gets my ass.
Yeah.
You're gonna need me before I need you.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's
happens.
Every
It
time
happens.
Bob has said that, it's always come true. Oh,
It
okay.
happens.
You're gonna need us before we need you. I swear to goodness. Every time he's had to say that, that shit comes true.
Well,
I can give
that's
you the
bad business.
stories.
That's bad. That like the thing is, you got to remember that stuff. Like, you get too damn big for your britches. That's what
forget it.
comes
That's
down
when you're
to,
done.
You know?
When you think you've arrived and you land the plane, next, he's out of here.
What it comes down to is just different levels. Like you got a whole other level to get past, and like the thing is, the levels get harder.
They get
Yeah.
harder.
You know what I mean? It's like you
It's like-
really didn't make it.
It's like when you're playing Super Mario Brothers. You know that the final master is hard to beat. And you know, if you lose, guess what? You got to start all
Yeah.
over. You know, it's no joke. It's
Yeah.
like, yo.
That's why you can't. Like, I didn't go to the gig that you guys did, and I watched. I saw one of his posts, and I saw you spinning, and I'm watching Iz. I'm like, okay, what is he thinking right now? And I'm like, he's not spinning, and he's like, you know, he's Steve Harvey at the Apollo. He's the host, right? And I'm watching you do your thing, and I was like, that's dope. You know, I didn't have to go. All I did was I texted him. I said, how was it? He was like, you know how we do it. You know, and I just like watching that. It's like, that's a beautiful thing when you could pass the torch, when you can actually open up the lane like that. Like,
He didn't have to at all.
I can't stand guys when I'm like, how do you not help? See, that's why I can't mess with you. Like, how do you not help
That's
the
the
next
thing.
man?
How do you not? That's the trippy thing, dude. But you know what's crazy? A lot of the times, a lot of people don't want help.
Well,
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think too.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
but you culturally, you know, we've also been conditioned
Yeah.
to have that mentality. It's like, man, when I get up, I got to make sure I protect my spot so tough that none of these cats come and take
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
that really bothered me. I used to open up for Paul Rodriguez, the comedian, and when I heard George Lopez say, "No, I ain't helping him," I'm like, Eddie Murphy has helped everybody from black and white. You can't help another Mexican
Yeah.
because he's got to get it on his own. Oh, okay. That's cold.
Yeah, it is. It's cold.
That's cold-blooded.
It's cold, man. Like that's the culture, and that sucks. And I think it comes from the class, like the middle class type thing, you know, and trying to be the man on top.
Yeah.
Like the thing is though, like we're called Howls over Baz. I don't know if you know the leader of the pack leads from the back.
I love
He's
that.
literally in the back. And that's literally how it goes. And the other wolves are in the front.
Right.
All
Oh,
to
yeah,
the middle.
okay. I did
the
see that.
leader is in the back.
In the back.
He dies first if someone attacks. He's the first one that has to fight. And that's how I always look at things. Like,
Yeah, that's a great analogy for sure.
yeah, and I love that. It's just the thing is people just don't think that way. You know, they always want to be on top. They always want to be the face. They always want to be the best. The leader is the person that like the most weight is on their shoulder. And really, nobody really would want to be a leader when they're in that position because everything falls on them.
But it goes back
Yeah.
to being a follower. That leader's in the
It's-
back following everybody
Yeah,
else.
you know,
Yeah.
I was watching this interview with LeBron, and because they're everybody's on him, and he's like, look, it's never one person that wins the championship or gets through the playoffs. Like it's not just one. You looking at me. Yeah, I'm responsible, but like there's everybody else. Like we live and we die as a team.
Yep.
We win and we lose as a team, and that's really how you got to really look at it. Like it's never one person that does it, and you know when you're at the top, trust me, there's somebody else coming right behind you. That's what Larry Bird had to tell Magic Johnson. Hey, there's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Michael Jordan. You know, when Mike was out of the game, it was Allen Iverson, it was Kobe, it was Shaq. It was a different thing, you know, and that's just what happens. You know, then there's Steph Curry. You know, it continues to go. Now you got Anthony Edwards, and they're like, he's the next Jordan. It's like, no, let him do exactly what Jordan did before you start giving him that crown.
Yeah.
But you don't win by yourself.
No.
And you don't do it by yourself. So to your point, man, it's like that's how we live too. I mean,
I
it's
love
like,
that, man.
You
I love
have
that.
to.
Well, real quick, can you read the chat off?
Yep.
Oh, we got to chat.
Yeah, and my bad, dude. I went way over with you guys. I feel like we could have did this forever. I was like, I'm learning so much right now. I was like, just keep this going. But
When the energy's
Yeah.
Nah,
right,
he was
that's how it
excited for
go.
sure.
Yeah.
We got Shinsada. What is that? Shais Nudai.
What up,
Shout
Shy
out.
Snoot-Eye?
Shy
Yeah.
Snoot Eye.
Singer, songwriter. Hand clap hearts.
Ah,
Thank you
I
for
love it. I
joining
love
us.
it.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah.
joining us.
Thank
He's
you.
back again. He said, facts. You have to serve to be great.
Yep. Word 'em
Let's
up.
see. He says, the journey requires guidance. St. John's Gaming, fire emojis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Cup TV, legends.
What up, Black Cup TV?
Shice Nudai again. He says, people just don't understand that level.
Yeah, that's true.
She says, wow, I needed this to resurge.
See, man, it's like that's great. That's
Yep.
great.
The last comment says, success requires a team. Hand claps.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Nobody does it alone.
Yeah, that's great.
Man, I
great.
really appreciate you guys coming on. I feel like blessed that you guys came on, dude. Not just from your guys' status, but like, dude, you guys, I love having these conversations
Yeah.
because you can't do this with everybody.
Yeah.
And then you guys are at a high level, and it's like there's so much I can learn. That's what the dude, low key, this is a cheat code for me because this podcast I can learn from people like you guys.
Yeah.
So when people like you guys can come on, I'm just like, oh, dude, this is gonna like these dude. And then the way you guys talk and you explain things, it's like you guys are killers, dude.
Yeah.
So
Thank
I
you, man.
appreciate that, man.
Much respect, and thank you for having us. And I gotta say, much love to where we came from, Rialto, Inland Empire. We're shaking and baking out here. We're bringing it home,
Yep.
and we just want to build. We want to uplift. We want to encourage, and we want to inspire. And this is our backyard. We're proud of it, and we've done our absolute best to get out here on the road and make sure that we conquered what we need to conquer to be able to come back and provide opportunity.
It's dope.
So we're happy to be out here.
Don't you
And,
got some stuff coming up?
Definitely got some stuff coming up between the DJ programs that we're introducing to a couple of districts, Fontana, Rialto, soon to be Upland and Rancho.
Oh damn.
Yeah, so we
Really?
got a DJ program that is comprised of obviously, the art of DJing, but really life skills, the skills they're gonna need, all the way down to, how to put an invoice together, right? When you get booked in a community event, what that looks like. Can you draft an email? So just trying to make sure these kids are excited about going to school.
Yeah.
Something that they can be, excited about, energized about, and hopefully pointed to a career path. And so we got some great things going on in the city, man. And we're happy to be doing this in our backyard. I think that's what makes it real.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
What about Halloween?
Oh,
All right.
so you want to go in? Oh, yeah,
this
he's
is
on
like,
it,
yo.
he's on it. So I got a great partnership with Stage Bread, which is a beautiful, beautiful venue in Fontana. And I'm using this place as the location for my legendary Halloween party, which is called Iz's Night of Grooves and Ghouls. If you haven't been, I promise you it'll change your life. It's amazing.
I'm down.
Yeah, and so
That's an invite,
It's
I'm
not a
down.
freak off, okay?
Yeah,
It's not a freak off. Not a freak off.
you
Not
know,
a freak off.
ain't no, it's not baby oil, it's fake blood, right? It's fake blood instead of baby oil.
No Diddy, man. No
No
Diddy.
So we're having that there.
That's great.
And
That's
also using this as a field trip location for the schools that I work with. So being able to bring in kids, give them a day of what production looks like, how to put on a show, all the way down to if you're an usher, like how do you walk people to their seats? What kind of experience do you give them? So just really utilizing that place as a place where they can envision themselves, you know, whether it's being stagehands, whether it's working the lights, you know, whether it's putting the programming together, just trying to give them additional outlets, because I'll tell you, in this day and age, math, history, science, you know, it's tough to compete against gaming and things that are very stimulating, whether it's kids being on their tablets, their iPads, on the computers. And so just want to give them an alternative and a different skill set.
Yeah, don't make no mistake. His parties are off the chain.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
It's off
Yeah.
the chain. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So Iz's Night of Grooves and Ghouls, October 25th.
You spinning too, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'm spinning.
Oh, yes.
I'm just checking.
Yeah,
We want to make sure Iz didn't
Oh,
cut
yeah.
you yet.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely in the building. For
You
sure.
can go
Dope.
to stagebreadfontana.com, click on the link, it'll take you to Ticketmaster. It's limited seating, so they're going quick. So make sure you tap in on that and come and hang out for a night of fun. It definitely will be a night you remember.
Yeah,
We
there
got
you
some
go.
special
Yep.
guests, you know, coming through. So,
I'm hyped
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's gonna be dope as shit.
Yeah,
oh
it'll be
man, it's
fun.
gonna be fun.
Bro, he used to have him at his house, and it didn't even look like the house. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, it's
You know
Studio
what's
54 in Halloween.
You know what's crazy? I want to do a ghost hunter podcast for
Man.
Oh, that'd be great.
You guys
See,
can come. You
So
know what I'm
not only
saying?
that, but UFO hunters too, because we're
Dude.
into UFO.
we got to do something like that for around Halloween, dude. Like
That'd be
some
great,
type
man.
of ghost hunter thing
Yeah,
in here.
yeah.
Set it all up. You know what I mean?
That'd be
That
dope.
would
That would be
dope.
really
You guys
cool.
can roll to that, man. You know?
Yeah.
We bring like a bunch of girls and all that stuff.
Of
like
course you do.
A panel of girls. We gotta have it.
Of
You know what I
course.
mean? We got it. But any last words from you two?
Man, my thing is like stay inspired, be inspired for today so that your tomorrow's even better. That's my thing.
Man, I appreciate you
Yeah.
coming on too, man.
Man,
It
absolutely.
was good meeting both you guys.
Likewise.
Yeah, it was a fun
Likewise.
pod, man. A fun pod. So our slogan is "Shed the Sheep."
Shed
So-
the sheep.
Yeah, shed the sheep, and you know what I mean. So it's basically breaking out the sheep, the
Yeah.
follower, becoming like a leader. That's
I love it,
basically what
man. I love it.
But if we can look at the camera on three, say "Shed the sheep." 1, 2, 3.
Shed
the
the
sheep.
sheep.
Howls over Baaz. I'm Jacob Casas,
This is ambition.
Is Avila,
Bobby Ross Avila.
and we're the Avila brothers. Yep.
and we appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to
Absolutely.
like and subscribe this video, and we are out. Peace.
Peace.